Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmidty, Swanee and Clarkey visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised. All right. Hello. Great to see you. How you going?
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hello. Sorry, I just realised that you can't see Tone. I'll just angle it a bit. You can see his ear.
It's a bit of a peekaboo. Hello.
There he is. So, yes, you've got the two of us here too as well. All right, how have we been? How's your week been?
Pretty good. We had the pleasure of going to the Grand Prix, which was lovely.
Oh, wow.
Excellent.
We saw you.
I heard some statistic that it had the biggest crowd ever, I think, for a Grand Prix in Australia. And then it was certainly like the biggest event that we've had in the last couple of years in terms of what's been allowed in crowd numbers. I mean, I know it's been cancelled the last couple of years, but it must have been pretty amazing to have that kind of energy and atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were so many people there, and it was just perfect weather, like 27 degrees and beautiful. So
that's good.
Yeah, really, really lovely.
It's always nice when a city puts on its best sort of face for the world to see. You always like, whenever that would happen, I'd be like so proud. I'd be like, oh yes, it looks lovely today. I always like that, as opposed to when it's like pissing rain or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what you were talking about the other day, though, Carla, about how when you were preparing for being allowed out, you booked every concert that there was available.
Yes.
I think there's quite a few people who went, Grand Prix, I don't even like it, but I'm going because I can.
Yeah, absolutely. I did go and have a look after we spoke about that the other day, and there is actually 2 full weeks where all of those concerts went into 2 weeks. Oh, I was absolutely right. Where I just booked everything. I didn't even look at the dates.
Oh, well, you'll have a good 2 weeks. You'll be full on. Carla, I hesitate to ask, how's your week?
I don't really know how to answer that. We've just finished the end of school, so we're actually on school holidays. We finished term 1, so that's an achievement in itself. And the big news over here is, which nobody on the East Coast would want to hear, but it has rained for the first time, and like a proper rain, since November. So that is like
that's pretty,
4 months of no rain.
Very dry, very dry.
And it's amazing. So it actually properly rained for the first time last night. It was shocking.
Oh.
So change of season, autumn's here, which is lovely. Yeah, so that's the big news from the West Coast. It's rained. What about you, Schmidty?
Oh, I've just been working, and then I went up to the houseboat because I've got Kate and Dave coming up next weekend, and it'll be the first time they've slept on the houseboat, been on there since we had the fire after Dad passed away in the house. And they only slept on the houseboat because the house burnt down. So I'm quite chuffed to have family come and stay. Oh, my brother has, and my nephews and nieces love it. But it'll be good to get Kate and Dave up. So they're coming up for Easter. So I went up this weekend to make sure everything was shipshape and Bristol fashion, because I've had the nieces and nephews up there and I never trust the state that it's going to get left in. So I just did a little bit of maintenance, and a friend of mine came up and we drank a lot and chatted a lot, and we had a lovely weekend. And as you say, it was lovely weather. I don't think it was quite as hot as 27, but it was very pleasant. Came home last night, and work's just been really, really full on. So not really exciting from my perspective, but not bad either. What are you drinking, Clarkey and Woo Woo?
So we're having a Cofield Sangiovese 2019. Just a nice little easy drinking number to take the edge off.
Swanee, what about you?
Well, after that conversation I just had with one of my children, I probably need a stiff drink. And I might just serve myself in a toilet break. I might go and serve myself up one, because at the moment I don't think the water's going to cut it.
Feeling a bit of rage.
And I've been on the ginger beers, the alcoholic ginger beers, the last 2 times I've been out. I'm really having a moment with them. I really like them.
Well, I've heard about them and I want to try them, but I haven't had one yet.
No, I really like it. I'm having a bit of a moment. We went out on Thursday night to just have drinks with some friends, and I had a few then. And then last night we went to a brewery with the kids for dinner. And
with the kids?
Again, with the kids. Yeah, and friends. And I had another couple of cheeky alcoholic ginger beers there. So I might go and get myself something a bit harder when we have a little break.
Okay.
Straight tequila.
Yeah.
Couple of shots.
It should be something like that.
Couple of tequilas with a little vodka chaser.
And what do you want, Schmidty?
I am drinking again that rather nice Shiraz from the McLaren Vale. It's cooled off here in Melbourne today. It rained overnight. We did have a nice weekend, but it was only 15 this morning. So it has that nice autumn feel about it, and cheeky red in autumn's always a nice go-to. And so that's me. I suppose we should introduce ourselves, just in case people don't know who we are. I'm Schmidty.
I'm Swanee.
And I'm Clarky. And together we
And
are...
together... Oh, you cheated there. And together we are...
Trial by wine.
Oh, that's going to be the best one yet. That's amazing.
Yeah, so good.
You had pre-prepared that. I could tell by that you look on your face, Clarky. Get a quick one in there.
All right, so I'm going to tell you a story. I'm not even going to ask if you want to hear it, because by the end of it, you will wish you hadn't. But that's okay.
Goodness.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know I like gruesome, macabre stuff. Well,
We know
Clarky
what you
certainly
like.
thinks I like.
We know what
gruesome
you
and macabre
like.
things. Yeah, well, I
You've
think
got a bit of a penchant for clowns and cannibals.
It's also
you know,
it's also nice to
Shits and
podcast
giggles.
about those things every now and then too.
Isn't
Not just
it?
do them in the backyard.
that's right. That's right. Well, yeah, I don't do any of the things that I'm about to talk about in any yard, let alone my own backyard. In fact, because I'm not a crazy killer. Just trigger warning, this story is quite famous, but it's also quite gruesome, so get ready. Okay, so it is, I wouldn't say a favourite, because I don't think I have a particular favourite in this sort of genre, but it's super famous and it's interesting because it's so gross and bonkers and bizarre, and I think I know it's inspired a lot of films and stories, and it's just so weird that I really think it needs a bit of a trial by wine treatment. So that's
Sounds
why I
good
picked
to
it.
me.
Yeah. My sources are Wikipedia, Britannica.com, Murderpedia, allthat'sinteresting.com, the nzherald.nz, who had no issues with sharing too much info, I decided, and a touch of Loud Bible for you both.
Hey.
I feel like this is delivering already. You haven't even said what it is, and it's like it's just
Yeah.
like if we had like a handout with some boxes on it, tick tick
Little
tick
criteria.
tick tick
That's
tick.
right. All right. So without further ado, let me introduce or reintroduce you, in case you do not know this one, to Ed Gein, the Butcher of Plainfield.
I don't know him.
You don't know this story?
No,
Hold on to your hats.
I don't know where Plainfield is, so I really don't have a clue.
Well, it's funny because when I was reading it, I thought, didn't we just do something? It was Plainville, the girl from Plainville. And
Yes.
I thought, oh, wouldn't that be interesting that I just follow it up with another one? But no, it's not. This one's in Wisconsin, different place.
I
And
thought you were
different
going to
name.
say somewhere like, you know how like there's the Barber of Seville. I thought you were going to say like the Butcher of Krakow or the Butcher of. I thought you were going to say somewhere old and European thing, and that's where my head had gone.
No.
So I truly don't know. I'm alrighty-o. I shall belt up, shall I?
Okay. So I've tried, a lot of this is from Wikipedia because they do a great job of putting it together in a nice chronological order, because
Yeah, I
sometimes you're
agree.
like, what the hell, and how do you piece it together? But I have spent a lot of time reading other stuff to try and pepper it with some more interesting facts, because it was Wikipedia was pretty dry, which it likes to be. So born in La Crosse, Wisconsin, on August the 27th, 1906, Edward Theodore Gean had his early childhood was not great. His father, George, was an alcoholic who couldn't hold down a job, and his mother, Augusta, a fanatically religious zealot who was Lutheran. And she certainly had puritanical leanings. Augusta ran a grocery store, and George had a series of jobs including carpentry, tanning, and I don't mean fake tanning or sun tanning.
He didn't run one of those like pop-up tents where women come and come and get spray tan.
Yeah. No, this
No,
would have
Carl,
been
don't be
about-
ridiculous. He had the bed. It was a mobile bed.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
In
The
the
tanning bed.
turn of the 20th century, I don't think that spray tanning was a big thing.
Big in Wisconsin.
That's right. So this is tanning the hides and leathers.
Leather, yeah.
And he also had a little stint as an insurance salesman. Now, Augusta was unhappy in the marriage, and she despised George. She thought he was extremely weak and pathetic, and she didn't believe in drinking or anything like that. But of course,
Did she always think that? Like, was that part of their marriage vows? I hate you, I despise you, and I want to be with you for the rest of my life because I deserve to be punished.
he ungrew on her. Yeah. So it started off thinking it might be okay, but after some time she thought, no, I really hate your guts. But due to her religious beliefs, which didn't condone divorce, she stuck with it. So around 1915, Augusta sold the grocery store at La Crosse, and the family moved to an isolated farmhouse outside Plainfield when Ed was 8 years old. Around this time, on one occasion, Ed disobeyed his mother's rule and snuck into the slaughter shed to find Augusta and George with a pig carcass hanging upside down. When Augusta sliced the pig down the centre to release its intestines, Ed reportedly experienced sexual pleasure. Clarky? Got that alarm
Gross.
anywhere?
Oh,
Yeah.
bing, 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 bing.
Correct.
Fuck.
So that's the dad.
No, that
the
was the
son.
son. The 8-year-old
oh.
boy,
All right.
apparently.
Sexual. I mean, he's 8-year-old. He shouldn't be experiencing sexual pleasure anyway. But
Well, apparently he
Over
got
that.
a bit excited about the
At 8, jeepers.
visceration of an animal. Okay. Augusta wouldn't allow her sons to leave the property other than to go to school, and she wouldn't allow any visitors to the farm. So she effectively isolated both of her sons. She had another boy by the name of Henry. Henry
is
was
that
the
because
eldest.
they have sexual pleasure when they cut pigs, or was there another reason?
No, she was just really controlling.
I reckon I would not want people coming over to see my 8-year-old having
Getting
sexual
hard on.
pleasure with dead pigs. If that's the reason, I'm okay with that.
Look, I only read that in one news source, and what I've got to say is, as I go through this, I will apologise for anyone listening who says that's not true or whatever, because there seems to be a great deal of variation around some of the facts, and I feel like
Truth-stretching.
there was some truth stretching in some of the reporting. Yeah, and that's one of those that I go, I don't know who validated that, whether he ever said it, don't know where it came from. It was just in one of the things that I picked up, but yeah, I was going to say more like a bit of fictionalisation and
Right.
sensationalisation of things, but I don't know why they bothered, because there's a hell of a lot of stuff in this that frankly was
Can be validated, yeah.
pretty disturbing, and you don't really need to stretch it.
Okay, well, I'll try to let go of that fact. The jury shall disregard that comment.
Well, I just said, something about stretching, and then thought, I know it's coming soon. I wish I hadn't used that word. Anyway.
Oh, don't.
Okay, so Augusta had some pretty nasty ideas about women and preached to the boys about the innate immorality of the world, the evil of drinking, so she wouldn't have been one of our people, and her belief that all women, apart from herself, of course, were naturally promiscuous and the instruments of the devil. Or shall I say, the instruments of the devil! Sorry, Clarky?
It's remarkable that she's different to all other women. Like, she's
is
incredible.
remarkable. Yeah, it is.
She's
Yep,
not
yep,
a
yep.
judgmental cow. She's just quite an amazing woman.
She reserved time every afternoon to read to them from the Bible, usually, of course, selecting verses from the Old Testament, the best ones, and the book of Revelation concerning death, murder, and divine retribution.
Mummy, instead of Bible time this afternoon, can we kill another pig?
No, darling, we've got to hear about the, slaughter of many people instead.
That's right. In the name of love.
Yeah. Well, no, First Testament, there ain't no love. There's some begetting, there's a lot of killing, but there's no love. It's the Second Testament that this concept of love comes into things.
Right.
Anyway, Gean was shy, and classmates and teachers remember him as having strange mannerisms, such as seemingly random laughter, as if he were laughing at his own personal jokes. And I've got to say, I do that. So, I'll have a giggle at an idea and people will look at me strangely. Yes, but...
Oh, no, I was just going to say, was he articulating those jokes, or are they just thoughts in his head?
No, it's like he just had a funny thought and he used to laugh out loud and everyone thought he was a bit odd. To make matters worse, Augusta punished him whenever he tried to make friends. Despite his poor social development, Gean did fairly well at school, particularly in reading. His mother also demanded he remain loyal to her and remain a virgin because sex was sinful and would lead to eternal damnation.
Not for her, though.
That's a conversation I'm not looking forward to having with the boys.
About eternal damnation?
No, just, you have to be, what was it, loyal to me? Or did
And
how did it
remain a
start off?
virgin. You must be loyal to
and
me, remain a virgin.
And loyal to virgin.
I'd-
Okay, no worries, Mum.
I feel like that's not a conversation you need to have with them.
Or maybe that's why he was attracted to pigs. In books about Ed Gein's life, psychologists have theorised that he doubted his masculinity from childhood. He'd been indoctrinated into believing males were weak and thought about becoming a powerful female like his mother.
No, but she's not like
That's
all
weird
others.
because she hates all the other women.
Yeah.
That's quite tricky. You wouldn't like anybody if men are.
Complex.
Yes.
I think he
don't know
just,
how-
I think he just, it's sort of almost a Stockholm syndrome, except she hasn't kidnapped him. She's isolated him, or coercive control. Like, she's completely isolated him. She's putting all these ideas in his head, and she's the only person who's his point of reference. And of course, she's saying, I'm very good, so you can look up to me and you must be loyal to me. So the kid's just brainwashed from early days.
But also, if he is a woman trapped in a man's body, well, it's okay to transgender.
Maybe not in 1906. That might be part of the difficulty. We'll get to it. Despite his mother's domineering ways, and perhaps because he had no other outside influences, Ed was extremely devoted to her. On the 1st of April, so we're going forward now, in 1940, Ed Gein's father, George, died of heart failure caused by his alcoholism at the age of 66.
Was that before or after 12 o'clock?
What?
Could have been an
April
April
Fool's.
Fool's joke.
Oh, no, I missed that entirely. Sorry.
Maybe
Schmidty?
we can
Yes.
just edit that bad joke out then.
Oh, no, it's
Mum
all right.
was-
Someone knocked on the door at the same time, so I was a bit distracted. Hang on a sec. Sorry, Tony's being called in for some lamb roast.
Oh, Harvey's luck.
Is Tom
Yeah.
Cruise coming over?
On a Monday
No, just
night.
Tony. Yeah, it's a bit weird, but anyway, that's okay. Right,
Love it.
sorry.
Schmidty, was the dad with them out on the farm
Yeah.
throughout this period of time?
Yeah.
So mum's like ruling the roost, dad's just a bit of a messy alcoholic,
Yes, and
and which probably helps mum's cause in terms of her trying to sell that.
Probably
She's
caused
superior
by
when
mum's
else.
cause.
she didn't give him any opportunity to have any real influence over the boys. I think I don't know whether he was violent or horrible, but
Sounds like he drank to avoid her.
Probably. Yeah, probably. Anyway, so poor old George died on April 1st, 1940, after 12 o'clock, because he didn't wake up again and go, ha ha, tricked ya. Henry and Ed, the older brother and Ed, started to do odd jobs around the town to help cover living expenses. They were grown adults, just to point out, so at this point Ed was 34. The brothers were generally considered reliable and honest by residents of the community. While both worked as handymen, Ed also frequently babysat for neighbours.
At 34.
He enjoyed babysitting, seeming to relate more easily to children than to adults. No, he just liked kids. He was a bit simple, I think.
Okay.
Well, I shouldn't say that in this day and age, but yes, I think let's put it the way Wiki does. He relates better to children than adults. Henry began dating a divorced mother of two. You can imagine how mother felt about that. And planned to move in with her. You can see how Augusta's going to go with
This is going great.
But he worried about his brother's attachment to their mother and often spoke ill of her around Ed, who responded with shock and hurt. On May 16th, 1944, Henry and Ed were burning away marsh vegetation on the property and a fire got out of control, drawing the attention of the local fire department. By the end of the day, the fire having been extinguished and the firefighters gone, Ed reported his brother missing. With lanterns and flashlights, a search party searched for Henry, whose dead body was found lying face down. Apparently, he'd been dead for some time, and it appeared that the cause of death was heart failure, since he had not been burned or otherwise injured. It was later reported by biographer Harold Schechter that Henry had bruises on his head. The police dismissed the possibility of foul play, and the county coroner later officially listed asphyxiation as the cause of death. The authorities accepted the accident theory, but no official investigation was conducted and an autopsy was not performed.
Is that asphyxiation by blunt trauma to the head?
Probably from the smoke, but the blunt trauma to the head made him unable to go away from the smoke, is how I'm reading that.
Suspicious.
Remember, Ed wasn't happy about him making comments
Yeah.
about his relationship with his mother.
I smell an Ed.
Gean and his mother were now alone. Augusta had a paralysing stroke shortly after Henry's death, and Gean devoted himself to taking care of her. Sometime in 1945, Gean later recounted he and his mother visited a man named Smith, who lived nearby, to purchase straw. According to Gean, Augusta witnessed Smith beating a dog.
It sounds like a fairy tale. Like a...
Doesn't it? Yeah. Well, a Brothers Grimm.
Yeah.
Augusta witnessed Smith beating a dog. A woman inside the Smith home came outside and yelled for him to stop, but Smith beat the dog to death. Augusta was extremely upset by this scene. However, what bothered her didn't appear to be the brutality towards the dog, but rather the presence of the woman. Augusta told Ed that the woman was not married to Smith, so she had no business being there. Smith's harlot, Augusta angrily called her.
I thought you were going to say that Ed was spanking the monkey in the corner while he was beating the dog.
No. Isn't Augusta lovely?
She's a quality human.
She's so warm. She's so Christian and so forgiving. She had a second stroke soon after that, and her health deteriorated
I hope you're not
rapidly.
disrespecting religious people.
No, I'm not. I'm saying she's acting not in the teachings of Christ. She is not being a Christian. She might think she is, but she's not behaving in a Christian manner, is what I'm saying. So she had a second stroke, and she got quite sick, and then she died on December 29, 1945, at the age of 67. And, of course, Ed was devastated. In the words of author Harold Schechter, he had lost his only friend and one true love. And he was absolutely alone in the world. I know, it's very sad.
It is sad. Well, he's lost his father, his brother, and
Everyone.
his mother.
Yeah, well, I think he
short
helped to
right?
lose his brother.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Oh, correct. Oh, yeah, that's really not quite so sad. Yeah.
So did he then go, now that I've lost everyone, I'm going to go and open up a butchery?
No, not quite.
He wasn't that kind of butcher then?
No. After Augusta's death, Ed, now alone in the house, renovated, for want of better expression, this property by boarding up all the rooms that had been used by his mother so that they couldn't be disturbed, and moved into a single room off the kitchen.
Oh, he's a whack job.
Yep, this was a neat idea, as it meant he could live in a hoarder's paradise without denigrating his mother's rooms. And he was feral. Now, from what I can tell, the property was quite isolated on a farm, and with no one to talk to, Ed began working on a series of hobbies to keep himself occupied. These included reading death cult magazines, stories about South Sea headhunters...
Are there even death cult magazines? Is that a thing?
And Nazi cannibal adventure stories. And no, I didn't know such things
Nazi
existed.
cannibal adventure
very niche.
stories. That's a lot. Yeah, it is very niche.
And I literally wrote, no, I didn't know such things existed, but it was the end of World War II, so it's not surprising there was a big anti-Nazi supervillain fiction type theme going on. But yes, he clearly liked this gross, dark stuff. But he mostly kept to himself, and no one really paid much mind to him. So going forward now, in December...
one day...
In December 1954, in fact, tavern keeper Mary Hogan disappeared. Whilst a pool of blood and a .22 caliber shell casing... Oh, yeah, I think that's right.
Did she die of asphyxiation too?
No, she was shot. Shell casing was found at the tavern. No suspects were identified in the case. And I'm not 100% sure on whether that was a .22. I think that was a Mauser pistol casing.
Thanks for clarifying that.
I know, I was just thinking.
I know you're
I was
concerned about
thinking,
it.
how ridiculous a 22.
Sorry. Well, there is a .22 involved, and I think that's why I've muddled them up. Not at this time.
What's with your understanding of guns?
Oh, God, don't ask, Carla.
I know
don't
what
ask.
Mauser rifle is. Mauser is the brand.
Move
it's like
along.
a Smith and Wesson.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anything you say can and will be used against you in the
Or a
court
Winchester.
of law, so let's just move along.
whilst a pool of blood and the shell casing was found at the tavern, no suspects were identified in the case. Mary was 51, originally born in Germany. She and her father and sister immigrated to the US when Mary was 11. She had 3 husbands and 1 daughter. And Yeah, she was 51. She'd had 3 husbands. She went through the Great Depression, World War I and World War II. So, you know, I don't know whether she divorced them, they died.
13 kids back then?
Or she only had 1. She only
just
had 1
seems
to,
odd that she
I believe, her first husband.
The ratio just feels wrong.
Well,
does feel like
one
a bit
surviving child anyway. Anyway, I'm only adding this because there is really very, very little mentioned about Mary in any of the stories.
So you're just keeping her memory alive.
That's exactly. I would like to honour her memory so she isn't remembered only for that which will unfold shortly. So now we're going to go forward to 1957 when the local hardware store owner, Bernice Warden, went missing. A Plainfield resident reported that the hardware store's truck had been driven out from the rear of the building at around 9:30am. The hardware store saw few customers in the entire day. Some area residents believe this was because it was deer hunting season. Bernice Warden's son, Deputy Sheriff Frank Warden, entered the store around 5pm to find the store's cash register open and bloodstains on the floor. Frank Warden told investigators that on the evening before his mother's disappearance, Gean had been in the store and that he was to have returned the next morning for a gallon of antifreeze. A sales slip for a gallon of antifreeze was the last receipt written by Warden on the morning she disappeared. So he's not smart. On the evening of the same day, Gean was arrested at West Plainfield grocery store, and the Waushara County Sheriff's Department searched the Gean farm. Okay, now, when I did the cannibal story, both of you were a bit upset when I didn't warn you that we were about to take a turn into the world of gore and grossness.
We're here already, are we? Okay.
So, yes, we are here. Strap in, kids, and brace yourselves. A Washara County Sheriff's deputy discovered Warden's decapitated body in a shed on Gean's property, hung upside down by her legs with a crossbar at her ankles and ropes at her wrists. The torso was dressed out like a deer. She'd been shot with a .22 caliber rifle, and the mutilations were made after her death. Police found her head in a burlap sack in another part of the house. Nails had been hammered through each ear and tied together with twine as if in readiness for the head to be hung up as a trophy. Her organs were in a bucket, and in a saucepan on the stove was a human heart. Searching the house, authorities found whole human bones and fragments, a wastebasket made of human skin covering several chair seats, which was replacing the rattan, so it was used as leather. You know, I said about stretching earlier.
Yeah,
I was thinking about stretching out skin. Skulls on his bedposts, female skulls, some with the top sawn off and turned into bowls.
Oh, nice touch.
Yep. A corset made from a female torso, skinned from shoulders to waist. Leggings made from human leg skin.
Hannibal Lecter.
Yes,
I'm
it
just
is.
going to wear
the
my
leggings.
human leg skin leggings.
Masks made from the skin of female heads. Mary Hogan's face, you know, the tavern keeper who went missing, her face in a paper bag and her skull in another box. Bernice Warden's entire head in that burlap sack. Bernice Warden's heart in a plastic bag in front of Gean's potbelly stove. 9 vulvae in a shoebox. A young girl's dress and the vulvas of 2 females judged to have been about 15 years old. A belt made from female human nipples. 4 noses, a pair of lips on a window shade drawstring, a lampshade made from the skin of a human face,
What?
and fingernails from female fingers. And, to quote Lad Bible, yeah, fucking weird that, followed by a gif of James Vanderbeek vomiting. That's the Lad Bible
Well
moment
played,
for you.
Lad Bible. Yeah.
Imagine being the police detective, whatever.
Apparently, the
Stumbling across that
first one who came in saw the Bernice Warden who was
body
dressed
strung up. Yeah.
and it is like everything out of a horror film, and got outside and vomited straight away.
Do you reckon, like, they go, you know, we'll just go and search the house. It should be pretty quick. I'll be home for dinner. And then you just go, what the...
Where was he, Schmidty? He was at the farm?
He was at the groceries. He'd gone into town. He'd shot her. He'd taken her home.
Yep.
He dressed her out like a deer, cut her head off.
Yes.
And the dressing out like a deer, just for clarity, which is probably you don't want to hear.
Thank you.
But
I do need to know.
He cuts her from the sternum right down, and he cuts
Don't say thank you, Swanee. Say skip over it.
right
No, no,
down,
I just
down
think
the groin,
that was
right down
more
the
that.
groin. Listen,
You're
cuts around the
encouraging her.
vagina, down the perineum to the anus, and then returns on the other side.
When I said thank you, I just meant you kept using the term dressing out, and I thought, is
To
she
allow-
going to say it means
like
what they do to a
Animal.
carcass?
Open it up
Yeah.
to allow all the guts
she
come
she
out.
went into she drilled
Exactly.
down
Could have left
and
it
went,
at
no,
that."
I'm going to tell you the exact
Yes.
journey that knife will make. Oh my God, Schmitty.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
And that's the technical term, is it, for an animal is called
That's
dressing
what you call
out,
it when
is
you're dealing with
hunter.
a hunter. Yeah.
It-
Gross.
I just learnt-
You know, yeah.
I need to
Okay.
take some anti-nausea pills for this story.
That's just when I think a ginger beer could have come in handy to settle my stomach.
yes,
God, this is
exactly.
full on.
All right. Well, look, we're halfway through. So how about you do get yourselves a drink? Get yourself
Yes,
a
I
drink,
think-
Carla. Yeah. Everyone take a little 5-minute break.
Everyone take a
'cause
little
this
moment.
is quite a disturbing
It's
story. I
building.
know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to ask you one thing before you go. Have you seen pictures?
Yes, I have. That's how I know exactly.
That was when you went. Is that where you said someone thought they took it too far? Oh, was that quote? Yeah, or that comment.
I have
level.
the pictures, but I don't think I'll show them to you. I'll never unsee what I've seen.
I thought you were asking if you'd seen a movie called Pictures.
No. I
No,
was just-
I've seen the
I
crime
figured-
scene photographs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking I haven't
figured at
even
one point-
heard of the movie.
There's also, it wasn't
old-
mentioned there, but there's also a necklace of human tongues.
I've got it.
How lovely.
You'll know it is a famous
The
case.
creative. I know.
I wonder where you'd
Creative,
wear that.
Carla, apparently fashion's your thing.
Apparently, in lack of having it for lack of personality, yes.
Oh, I wasn't going to say that. I was just going to say because you're beautiful and you dress nicely. But I can't imagine. How would you accessorize, or what would you put that? You'd have to have some like real little.
Do they dry up? They
really
shrivel,
plain.
don't they?
Your human skin leggings, surely they'd match that.
I want to know what we call them, because a jean with a very lycra component is called a jegging. I'd like to know what we call a legging that's made out of skin. Is it a skigging, a skegging, or is it like what's a hiding? A hiding.
A hiding.
The artefacts were photographed at the State Crime Laboratory and then decently disposed of. When questioned, Gean told investigators that between 1947 and 1952, he made as many as 40 nocturnal visits to 3 local graveyards to exhume recently buried bodies while he was in a daze-like state. On about 30 of those visits, he said he came out of the daze while in the cemetery, left the grave in good order, and returned home empty-handed.
When I'm in a daze-like state, I stare off into the hills or, just get a blank look on my face. I don't go digging up graves. Like, that's pretty active for a dazed-like state. Wow.
Mm-hmm. On the other occasions, he dug up the graves of the recently buried middle-aged women he thought resembled his mother and took the bodies home, where he tanned their skins to make his paraphernalia. Now, I also read the following from nzherald.co.nz, but I couldn't find any corroborating evidence that it's true, although it is a theory, that he dug up his own mother and removed her head, which he took home to shrink, just as he'd read about in his books.
To shrink?
There were shrunken heads also in the house.
Oven for...
No, you remember I talked earlier about his death cult books and his South Seas tribal things that he liked to read. He basically learned through that how to shrink a human head, and there were shrunken heads in the house.
How much does he shrink it by?
Is it like a twisty packet?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It just goes to like 1/10 of its size.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure on how they do it. I think they remove the skin from the head and then sort of dry it down, so it's like from the skull.
Is it so small that like you can put it on your thumb and then have little conversations. Yeah. Oh, hello, Thumbelina.
Thumbelina.
Hello, Bill.
Do you think that's the backstory to Thumbelina? We just weren't aware of it.
She's got a shrunken head. Thumbelina.
I take issue with the fact you've got to take the skin off first. I mean, if you want a little mini replica, you want it to look the same as it did, a little mini version of it.
Maybe you put the
skin off. I see that as counterintuitive.
But maybe you put the skin on it like a mouse skull, and then you shrink it down onto that, so it looks like a real head.
Oh my God, it's adorable.
Is that your mum?
What do you collect, Carla? Oh, let me show you. I call them Shrinky Dinkies, teeny heads. Look at them. Where did you get those, from the service station when you pick up the fuel?
But if you spend $100 or more on groceries at Coles, you'll get a Shrinky Dink.
Shrinky Dink.
Okay.
And the nice thing is, because they're using real heads, they're not using
it's good for the environment.
Correct.
Sustainable.
Reuse.
Oh God.
Reuse, recycle, repair. He was big on reuse, recycle, repair.
Yeah. Shrinky Dinks.
Yeah, I absolutely just think this man's a crafter. He's all about that reuse, recycle, repair. Yeah,
he's very much into, he would have had to make visits to the haberdashery department, wouldn't he? Oh, I'm after needle and thread, something that's, capable of, oh my goodness, who talked about sewing up a bottom the other day? Was that here? One of you posted something about a bottom being sewn up. It was you, Clarky.
Oh, it was Clarky. Someone had a bottom.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's right. Oh no, you didn't post it. You commented on it, I think.
Some woman's sewed her partner's bottom up. When she was angry with him about something. I can't imagine just one prick, no pun intended. I'd be like, oh my God, how could your whole bottom get sewed up? What kind of
needle and thread would you need for that, to do a job that...
You know those, I don't know what they were called, but they're like some kind of special hook that goes around in like a half moon shape. Maybe it's one of those. Yeah. Get it through. Yeah. I don't know if they're what they are, darning hooks or something.
God.
All right. Well, look, since we're on his craft, I'll show you a little bit, and it's not. I'm
No
picking
thanks.
I'm picking the least offensive.
No
bits.
thanks.
Oh well, I'm doing it anyway.
Thanks.
All right, so this is one of the chairs. There were 4 of these. Now look, rattan. You know what
Quite
rattan?
modern.
Exactly. You know
Yes.
what rattan chairs are like. After a while, they wear out. So he replaced all of that with a nice bit of leather that he found, that he just sort of recycled
found.
on someone's body. Yes, and of course he does a lot. He's in a farm. He does a bit of work on the farm, so he needs a good pair of gloves.
Oh, goodness me.
So for our listeners, I am showing the guys a pair of gloves made from people's hands, human skin. And I'm not going to show you any more than that. Oh no, there's you made a comment about the bowl, the skull bowl. There it is. There's the skull bowl.
Oh, that's quite nice.
Oh, look, you know, I think there are a lot of goths out there that would quite like one of those on their mantelpiece.
Oh my God.
Oh, is that like an ashtray?
Oh,
it's
until I
even
saw
got the
the
teeth. You hadn't scrolled down that far.
I was at Clark until I saw the choppers. It was like, oh my word. The
Goodness.
teeth is a dimension I wasn't prepared for.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right, now I'm going to
just
stop
on the
because it
just
gets
on
much
the chair.
nastier. Yes, right,
So,
back to the
like,
chair.
you can't really tell that that's
I know.
human
No.
skin at all.
I
And
think they
feel
must
like
have tested it after they found other stuff, because I'm with you. I would have thought that was just a piece of leather. And I
But I
can't
think
even
if he was
believe
proud
that
of his
human
work-
skin.
He's quite the craftsman. Look at the
If
where
it-
his studs are. It's all beautifully
it's
done.
very- if he was proud of his craft, he probably would have or should have kept like the belly button in the middle or something, or a nipple or
Yeah, I
something.
reckon.
I
just
don't
so
know
you
if you
could
can see it, but
what
there
was.
The belt.
is a little thing.
A blemish.
Can you
Yes,
see my
that
mouse?
thing
Yeah.
there, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to see on the screen that you're looking at, but I don't
If
think
only you
it's
could
a
zoom
nipple.
in.
That looks like a face at the top. The little two little eyes.
A tiny
bird
head
face.
face.
And it's like a bird with its wing out like that. Can you
It
see
does.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can.
It's like, go, hey, like a little character.
Yeah, no, it's just a blemish. But I think I like it. A nipple,
Where's that come from?
A nipple
Would that
right in
be
the
enough
middle of
skin
that
off my-
seat would have been good.
No skin off my nose.
Would that be someone's skin off their back, perhaps, or where
Yeah,
would you
I
get a
reckon.
piece that large?
It's
that
not
back
butt
acne?
crack. Back knee.
Back knee.
Yeah, it could be a back, or it could be, I suppose, a stomach. But then I don't know what that is. You know,
hair,
that is.
yeah.
I'm not sure.
It's a big piece
I
of
reckon
skin.
back. Or it could be a leg if they're big legs.
Yeah, it could
Just
be.
around the thigh or something.
Thigh.
Yeah, all the way round. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that chair's
I have
got
to
fine
say,
legs.
wouldn't it be like the people that he's working with in terms of the quality of their skin? If they're people that are sort of middle-aged women, I'm not sure that I'm cut out to be like make the best furniture. I'll be honest.
Have you
I think
ever
you'd be
tried
stretch
though?
marks.
You could do better than me. I'm telling you. If someone was looking, I'd say honestly, if this is about furniture, upholstery, I don't think you're going to be happy
You
with
may
what
as well
comes out of this.
keep me
You're not going
alive.
to be happy with your work. I'll do you a disservice.
I've got plenty of skin.
I'm not
It's
up-
just
I'm not-
already
I'm
I
not up
won't
to
be
it.
worthy.
I'm not up to it. It's too, it's too worn.
Shrink my head though, no
And
problem.
it's slack. I think, yeah, that'll work. But yeah, shrinky dink.
When you were carrying on about shrinky dinks before, I forgot. They don't. Shrunken heads do not look like their original state.
I'm not a fan
that's
of
sad
the
to
use
hear.
of the
Why do they
term
bother then?
carrying on about that.
Dunno.
I don't think we were carrying on about it. I think we were having a serious conversation.
It is a good question though.
There's a
Shmidty.
lot
Why
of
do you do it if you
shenanigan
don't look
laughs going on about
Yeah,
the
it was a
shrinking down at
hilarious-
Coles.
Like it's $100 at Coles.
It was a hilariously serious conversation.
It was a nice little bit of levity. So,
So, I see what you did there.
Allegedly-
A needle
sorry.
pulling
Got
thread.
anything else to show? Can you show us anything else?
or Paul, I don't think Clarky wants to see. I can.
Can I look at the belt if you don't mind?
Oh, all right, Clarky, avert your eyes. Avert
Is
your
it
eyes.
Louis Vuitton?
I'm going to watch with one in, all
Oh,
in.
all right, okay.
It's got
Don't
his
say
initials
what one.
at the front. They've got. He's got what?
It
The-
says,
Is it EG instead of GG? He's got. Is it Edward Gein? He's
it
got
says
the EG.
mama on it. Oh my God.
So that's what he had multiple face masks they called them, but they were basically masks made of people's faces.
You couldn't wear that.
And obviously human bones, and I don't know what that is in the box. Not sure. Bit of something. Okay, this is where it gets real
Oh, here we go. Oh my god. Okay.
So
okay.
that-
Is that a fat suit?
gross.
That's the tongue
That's the
necklace, isn't it?
They're the tongues there. Yeah, that's the torso made of skin that he wore Oh, sorry, I haven't got onto it yet, but he liked to dress in that.
Did he tuck his cock back like in?
Do you think?
Well,
Silence
who
of
do
the
you
Lambs?
think? Who do you
That's
think
right.
was
Was it-
inspired by this guy? Yeah.
Right, got it. Okay,
Gum.
right, got it.
Yeah, James Gum is
That's just-
inspired by this. I'm not quite sure what that is.
Oh God, the
make
names even are
coasters.
similar.
They look like boobs. I'm not sure what they are. But here it is. This is the belt. Yeah.
And what was that made
I
of
would have
again?
put that buckle.
again,
Would you have matched that buckle
What would,
with it?
that's
I don't know.
right. What would
you
you
could-
wear with that?
With your crocodile shoes
I don't know. I just don't know what it would go with.
or your Crocs. It'd go with your Crocs because nothing goes with Crocs.
I'm not 100% sure, but that is either just another one of these poor people's faces that's been skinned, or it could be the head. It could be the head of his last victim. I'm not sure who that is. Sorry.
I wonder if he ever wore that belt, or if it was just one of those things.
Just
that he's
decorative.
crafting. Yeah.
I don't know. He's very crafty.
Very,
And-
very, because he's actually gone to the effort of making a belt out of.
He had a lot of long
Nipples.
nights. It's Wisconsin. It's a cold
I reckon
place.
he's just bored as fuck.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with that bit of skin?
I'll do something with it. Waste not, want not. My mother always taught me reuse, recycle, repair.
I do find it a bit odd though that the belt would work. As a male who would I can't imagine him wearing the tongue necklace though. And you don't realise how big long a tongue is until
Well,
it's
it
pulled out
just
of your
goes to
head.
show you
Also,
never
what was he
really
gonna
know
do with
someone,
nine-
do you?
9 dried vulvas in a box under his bed. I mean, what are you going to do with those?
Oh,
He-
make a
and it-
nice
I don't know
little
what
granola. Put some dried almonds and
I just don't know what you would do with these things.
uh,
And the ears, he had ears. And I was saying before
Well,
while you're
you
getting your
listen.
drink, what's with the lips on a window shade
Yeah, that's
drawstring?
right.
I
Yeah.
mean, what's that about?
I wonder if he
Anyway.
could use his ears as remote listening devices and just plant them on the table and hear what everyone's saying
Oh, God,
from
There's just
afar.
such a lot of it. It's freaky.
Now,
Do tell.
allegedly, he had a friend called Gus who would help him with his nocturnal visits originally. But when Gus went into a nursing home, Gean could no longer manage to exhume graves, and this is most likely
That's
why
why
he
he
turned
started
to killing people.
killing.
Yeah,
All right.
to continue to
wondered about
gather
that.
female parts. Yeah. Gean admitted to stealing from 9 graves from local cemeteries and led investigators to their location. Alan Wilimowski of the State Lyme Laboratory participated in opening 3 test graves identified by Gean. The caskets were inside wooden boxes. The top boards ran crossways. The tops of the boxes were about 2 feet, so 61 centimetres below the surface in sandy soil. Gean had robbed the graves soon after the funerals while the graves were not complete. The test graves were exhumed because authorities were uncertain as to whether the slight Gean, because he's a very small man, was capable of single-handedly digging up a grave during a single evening. And I don't think that they actually knew about this guy Gus. And again, Gus is one of these spurious factoids that comes from one of thing that I
And
read.
his mum's name's Augusta, which has Gus
who
in
knows?
it.
Yeah, it's all weird. The graves were found as Gean had described them. So 2 of the exhumed graves were found empty. One had a crowbar in place of the body because he actually lost his crowbar in a grave. Can
What
happen.
An idiot.
I know. And most of the body was gone from the 3rd grave, but he had returned some rings and bought body parts back that he didn't want.
Oh, I don't need these.
Yeah. Look, I've got enough.
I've got
nipples
enough
for now.
tongues.
Yeah. Thus, Gean's confession was largely corroborated.
If I put another tongue on that necklace, it'll just be gaudy.
You can overdo
Everything on
it.
then take one thing off.
That's
Just
right.
too much. Everyone knows 11 tongues is the right number.
Soon after his mother's death, Gean began to create a woman's suit so that he could become his mother, to literally crawl into her skin. He would wear the skin shirt around the house as he wanted to know what it was like to have breasts and a vagina. It is suggested by multiple
I
sources.
bet he didn't find out what it's like to have a vagina by wearing that skin suit.
Yeah, no, I
I'm
think
just
you're
putting
right.
money on that.
He found out what it was like to hang breasts and a vagina as a
Off his frame.
costume off his frame. Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
the breasts I can come at because, you could play with them a little bit and whatever. The vagina bit, no way, mate. Yeah, that's right. I don't know what you do with them.
That's what we do, isn't it, Carl? We just go around
Walk down
flopping
the street.
around all the time. We always play with our breasts.
No,
Weirdo.
but he would have in the comfort of his own home. Can't call me a weirdo because he's making suits that he can wear. Jesus.
Oh, I mean, you're not the
like
biggest weirdo here. This is
That
true.
makes me
yeah.
super normal compared to him.
Look, it's suggested by multiple sources that Gean wanted to transition from male to female, but I'm unsure as to whether anyone medically did that in the mid-50s. So he opted to wear a woman's suit.
Shreddy, when you're
Well-
wearing the suit, it has been tanned, has it? So that it has all the skin's been treated as such. So that's why
It's been treated.
right,
it's not rotting. He's not walking
No.
around in decomposing flesh. Yeah.
He just looks like he's been down to, I don't know, Skinny's or the Ugg boot shop or where they have like skins and bits and pieces.
Yeah. You've seen it, so you know it doesn't quite look like that.
No.
But yeah.
No.
If you Google Bubbles de Vere, I reckon that's what.
That's
he's
exactly
trying to
what
Oh,
it looks
yes.
like. I know.
Yes.
It does.
do. Call me
yes.
Bubbles, darling. Everybody
Everybody
does. And then
does.
you do these ones again.
Ooh, these ones. That's it. And for our listeners, when Clarky says these ones, he's gesticulating us upward slaps to our breasts so
Yeah,
that they
exactly
bubble,
right.
they wobble around a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gean denied having sex with the bodies he exhumed, explaining they smelled too bad. I bet they did. During state crime laboratory
At least he hasn't
interrogation,
completely lost it.
He's got standards. God.
Yeah, that's right.
he admitted to the shooting death of Mary Hogan, whose head was found in his house, but he later denied memory of the details of her death. A 16-year-old youth whose parents were friends of Gean and who attended ball games and movies with him reported that Gean kept shrunken heads in his house. Here we go, the shrinkies. Which Gean had described as relics from the Philippines sent by a cousin who had served on the
you've
islands
got that
during
one,
World
that
War
really
II.
rare one that I want.
Like Pokemon, like Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
Upon investigation by the police, these were determined to be human facial skins carefully peeled from corpses and used by Gean as masks. During questioning, Washara County Sheriff Art Schley reportedly assaulted Gean by banging his head and face into a brick wall. As a result, Gean's initial confession was ruled inadmissible. Schley died of heart failure at the age of 43 in 1968 before Gean's trial. Many who knew Schley said he was traumatised by the horror of Gean's crimes, and this, along with the fear of having to testify, especially about assaulting Gean, caused his death. One of his friends said, he was a victim of Ed Gein as surely as if he had butchered him. And it was this guy, Art Schley, who was the first who went into the house and saw Bernice's body
Yeah,
and had to get out and throw up.
I'm in agreement with that, Schmidty.
Look out. I might come and skin you. On November 21,
Jesus.
just... Yeah, well,
Sure, that's an
I'm-
appropriate.
it's a very
response.
appropriate response to the word agreeance. I can't think of a more appropriate response to agreeance. November 21, 1957, Gean was arraigned on one count of first-degree murder in Washara County Court, where he pled not guilty by reason of insanity. Gean was diagnosed with schizophrenia and
I
found
reckon,
mentally
sorry,
incompetent.
can I just interrupt that bit? I reckon that the reason his insanity defence didn't work is that he didn't have sex with the bodies because they smelt too much, and that just shows that his mental capacity is quite normal.
He had one level of judgment. Can't come at a smelly corpse.
That's right.
Oh, pardon.
And I
pardon the
didn't
pun.
actually mean to say what I just said. I didn't mean it in the way you took it.
I've been trying all afternoon, but I just can't.
I just can't, yeah. Anyway, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and found mentally incompetent, thus unfit for trial. He was sent to the Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane, which is now the Dodge Correctional Institution, a maximum security facility in Walpin, Wisconsin, and later transferred to the Mendota State Hospital in Madison, Wisconsin. In 1968, doctors determined Gean was mentally able to confer with counsel and participate in his defence. So now we are deciding that he's okay to stand trial.
That's quite a long time after, right? It's like,
11 years.
yeah, so a decade
Jeez.
later. Wow, that's a big gift.
The trial began on November 7, 1968 and lasted 1 week. A psychiatrist testified that Gean had told him that he didn't know whether the killing of Bernice Warden was intentional or accidental. Gean had told him that while he examined a gun in Warden's store, the gun went off, killing Warden. Gean testified that after trying to load a bullet into the rifle, it discharged. He said he hadn't aimed the rifle at Warden and did not remember anything else that happened that morning. And I did read that when they were investigating the hardware store, that the .22 caliber rifle was displaced in the hardware store as if someone had been, like someone had used it and put it somewhere.
Yeah, right.
So it may or may not support his story, but he certainly didn't take a gun with him to kill her. Whereas
Right,
the
wasn't
first woman,
premeditated necessarily.
I would say the first woman, Mary Hogan, it was premeditated.
I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether he killed her or not after what he did to her post that. If he was there, even if it was an accidental shooting, which I don't believe for a second.
Fairly unusual if you accidentally shot someone to think, oh, well,
What I'll do.
I'll just take him home and... Yeah, I'll take him
I'm
home
gonna
and
take
dress
him
him.
Yeah, what's it called?
dress her out like a deer.
Dress her out. Yep.
Yeah, because, I can use that meat. I don't think he ever ate any of them. He just seems to like
just
to make
put a
craft.
heart on the saucepan.
It just, he did cook it up, but I didn't read anything that said that he was a cannibal.
Imagine what that would smell like. Oh, God.
Gross.
Couldn't
like
come
brawn.
at that either.
Oh. Anyway, stop. At the request of the defence, Gean's trial was held without a jury, with Judge Robert H. Golmer presiding. Gean was found guilty by Golmer on November 14. A second trial dealt with Gean's sanity after testimony by doctors for the prosecution and defence. Golmer ruled that Gean not guilty by reason of insanity and ordered him committed to Central State Hospital for the criminally insane.
So hang on a sec. He
found him guilty, and then a second trial came along as an appeal.
No, but he was released from a psychiatric institution because he was no longer
I
insane.
don't believe
And
he
then the
was
judges
released at all.
decided that...
He wasn't released.
Well, he was
determined fit for trial, not released.
Right. Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is, so his sanity was okay, and then the judges decided that's not okay.
No, his sanity was okay first time round. Well, his doctors and psychiatrists said
when he was going for trial, then he got
first trial, and the judge said, "Yep, you're guilty because I've been told you're fit for trial, and I've looked at you and you're guilty." Obviously, his defence lawyers would have appealed again and said, "No, he's nuts, right? You can't kill him." And then the same judge said, "Okay, fine. He's not guilty by reason of insanity, but basically committed him to life in a high security mental hospital."
I'm just intrigued as to who is a better expert of his mental capacity, and I feel like the people who had him in their facility for 11 years, who can then say that he's now okay, are probably the best ones to determine that, not the defence's psychiatric evaluators or whatever, who probably haven't spent much time with him at all.
Yeah, I think he was pretty insane. I would question the capability of the people who said that he's fine for trial. Fit for trial is not the same as completely sane either, by the way. So fit for trial doesn't mean he's sane. It means he's fit for trial.
And I guess also the for him to get off, it would have to be that he was insane at the time
that he
doing
killed
it,
people.
not regardless of what he's like now.
That's right. Yeah. But didn't get off. He still was committed to a psychiatric hospital. They're not nice. For the criminally insane. So he's in there with a bunch of other Ed Geins. What's interesting is that he was only, it said, due to prohibitive costs, so legal costs, Gean was tried for only one murder. That of Mrs. Warden. He also admitted to killing Mary Hogan. He was never tried for Mary Hogan's death. Yeah, I know, it's not very good.
That's just bizarre.
It is, yeah. And he didn't... Actually, they didn't talk about charges. So I'm going to assume that his charges at the time were murder, but there should have been further charges around grave robbing and desecration of bodies and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
they probably
it seems
were,
very
but...
simplified sort of situation for what had gone on, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Due to excessive costs.
I should have spent a bit more time finding out what charges were, but I didn't, so there you go. Gean's house and 195...
Surely crimes of fashion.
Yeah, and craft.
Boobs is something else, isn't it?
Gean's house and 195-acre, slapping the boobs again, property were appraised at $4,700, which was equivalent to $42,000 in 2020. His possessions were scheduled to be auctioned on March 30th, 1958, amidst rumours that the house and the land it stood on might become a tourist attraction. Early on the morning of March 20, the house was destroyed by fire.
Arson?
Who cares? We didn't bother to find out. Most likely, yeah. A deputy fire marshal reported that the garbage fire had been set 75 metres from the house by a cleaning crew who were given the task of disposing of refuse, that hot coals were recovered from the spot of the bonfire, but the fire did not spread along the ground from that location to the house, so arson was suspected. But the cause of the fire was never officially determined. It's possible that the fire was not considered a matter of urgency by Frank Warden, who happened to be the son of Bernice Warden, the woman who was murdered. When they spoke to Gean about it, he said just as well.
Oh!
Yep. Some people who are weird bought his 1949 Ford sedan, which he used to haul the bodies of his victims, and sold it to basically a carnival sideshow operator, Bunny Gibbons. And Bunny Gibbons charged carnival goers 25 cents admissions to see it. Gean died of lung cancer in 1984.
Who pays to see that?
This is the point, you know,
What's
when I
the
was saying about
attraction?
how, well, just it's macabre.
The same people, someone like me who just said then, show me the picture, Schmidty.
Yeah,
I can see it for free on
same
the
people
internet
who are
now.
sitting here listening to our podcast.
Correct.
There's just a morbid fascination for stuff that is so bizarre and outside of what.
That's the way
car.
you would have seen it in those days. You wouldn't
Like
have
a
seen it the other
car.
way.
You're not seeing anything. You're just seeing a car that stuff happened
that
in.
had people in it. Yeah, I agree. It's like when I was a kid, my dad once took me to, I don't know, some show, probably Piss Week World, and there was
Trial by Wine World.
No, that'd be much better. I mean, let's face it, that's going to be grouse. But no, it was some travelling carny show, and they had a 5 metre or 6 metre great white shark kind of in a tank, in a giant fridge, see-through fridge tank. I just remember it smelling and being really grotesque.
Couldn't come at it?
Oh, I couldn't come at it, no. Couldn't come at it.
It wasn't like some test that your dad took you and you were like some little girl going, oh, yeah.
God.
He's
Yeah.
like, what's going on, Ish?
Now-
Little lady?
Now let's
That,
go on to
not
the
the
pig
lead.
killing.
Yeah,
See whether she's sexually aroused
failed,
by that.
She failed that test. Let's
I
take
was
it to the
never
abattoir.
sexually aroused by the dead pig that hung in our shed. I was never
God.
aroused by that. I always
Thanks
thought
for
it was a
clarifying.
bit.
Did you have a dead
Weird.
pig hanging in your shed?
A salami
Yes,
pig.
several times, yes. Being good wogs, we would have a pig slaughtered and hung in the shed for a bit, and then we would make sausages, well, actually, chabai, not salami, chabai, because we're Hungarian, and pork chops. And I think Mum and Dad thought it was more economical to actually butcher
you would in the day,
a
I'm
pig
sure.
and then
Yeah.
freeze it. But it has meant that my 2 elder siblings to this day will not eat pork. They are so repulsed by the smell of it and all the rest of it.
Wow.
Whereas I used to feel like that. I got over it. Quite like a bit of the other white meat. Anyway, I was going to say long pig and then I stopped myself. Yeah.
Well done.
We know how you feel about that.
Yeah. Tastes like chicken. Nom, 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 with a bit of Chianti and fava beans. That's right. Gean died. I told you he did. He died. I told you he did.
I told you he did.
I told you. Gean died at the Mendota Mental Health Institute. He had lung cancer, and so he had respiratory failure, basically a secondary issue, and died. Over the years, people thought it was appropriate to chip pieces off his gravestone at the Plainfield Cemetery until the actual stone itself was stolen in 2000. He's married. He's married. He's buried between his parents and his brother in the cemetery, but he doesn't actually have a marked grave now, which is what it is. Going back to your references about pop culture, I'm surprised you didn't come at. I keep using it. It's going to be our next merch. I couldn't come at that.
Yeah.
It's our next tagline. I just couldn't
Yeah.
come at it. I'm surprised that you didn't jump on or think about the relationship of the mother with Psycho, but this was a big inspiration for Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
Yeah, right.
See, I've never seen that. Actually, when it comes to horror movies, I've never seen any of them because I can't cope.
Yeah, it was written by Robert Bloch, and so Hitchcock then made the film out of it. And yes, you were right. Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs is also inspired. But Buffalo Bill is an amalgamation of several serial killers, not just this guy. Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and no points for working out why that's the case. And
I haven't watched that either. I presume he wears a
I
mask
have-
that's
I
made
haven't
someone's
watched
face
it.
it. I mean,
I
obviously
was
I've heard of it, but I've never
not
watched
interested. Don't want to
No.
watch it.
No.
Yeah. I think I've seen bits of Psycho. I've definitely seen Silence of the Lambs.
I've seen Silence of the Lambs, that'd be it.
But
And
to
it
be
was, I've
honest
only ever
with
seen
you-
it once and a long time ago.
I discovered this in the course of my research, but I'm pretty happy about it. And I shall introduce to you Ed Gein, the musical.
Oh, God. Goodness me.
You've got to be kidding me.
Oh,
No.
no.
It sounds like Springtime for Hitler. What's that called?
That's the producers, yeah. No, well, I suppose this is sort of ironic. I read some reviews of it. It was made into a film. It's not available anywhere, unfortunately.
Oh.
It's very indie, and apparently some cinema crew or someone's just picked them up. I was looking at their Facebook page. You can see some clips of it on YouTube, and there are 2 of the tracks available on Spotify. That's what I was listening to while I was waiting for you, Carla, and I was laughing at it. And it starts with, I've done a bad thing. I've done a bad thing.
Who's that?
Yes.
Chris Isaac.
It wasn't quite...
Baby's done
yeah,
a bad thing.
but it was a
Baby
bit
did a
like
bad,
it.
bad thing.
Yeah. But I will say, described on its YouTube trailer by Davies Russell Studios, who are the creators, imagine the innocence and the joy of the 1950s. America was prosperous and well. Rock and roll was full of vigour and breathless excitement. All was right with the world. Suddenly a manic crescendo came forth from the depths of hell to smash this joyful harmony. The Butcher of Plainfield. The serenading psycho, the maestro of mortal mayhem, reared his ugly misanthropic head. Straight from the pastoral farmland
Melodramatic.
of central Wisconsin. It's a musical, of course it is. Straight from the pastoral farmland of central Wisconsin, Ed Gein redefined evil. His unnatural devotion to his mother, his demonic lust for the recently deceased, and his sick and twisted uses of their carcasses shocked a nation. I'd like to say bodies, but anyway. And now his life story is chronicled through music. Ed Gein, the musical, sets the mood, tone, and tempo of his melody of mirth, mayhem, murder, and mum.
I just think these people were doing a school project on alliteration. They're like, okay, you've got to use the letter M. It reminds me, when I was in year 5, the letter S, and I think I did something. Used my mum's name, Sandy, the seductive secretary. Had a siesta in the sun, after the sun.
Sounds a lot like my dad wrote a porno. That's a podcast. I don't know if
I've heard of it,
but
I've not watched it, but I have heard the title.
But yes, Sandy, the seductive secretary, sitting in the sun.
Yeah. Having I had
sangria.
Yeah, before she had a siesta or something. Like, that's honestly, and I was in year 5 at the time anyway. It's published in the school magazine, so I still have that. And every time I look at it, I think, oh God, how embarrassing. And that's what that red light was like. Here's a project, use the letter M. So tell us about the music. What is it, the story of his life, or what have they done?
Was it a Broadway hit?
It's
was
a
it
film.
off
it's an
Broadway?
indie. No, it's an indie film. I don't think it's actually been put on stage. And I saw. Okay, I'll show you a little bit of it.
Like La La Land.
Oh, please.
Cooked up.
Kelly was saying that it looks like she might have been kidnapped.
I gotta get going, so thank you.
There's something wrong with that boy.
It's such a lonely feeling. It's such a lovely reeling. Surrounded by an old friend, and yet I'm treated like a rural mannequin. I've got feelings as deep as the ocean.
My daddy,
That's terrible.
may Satan arrest his damaged soul, had whiskey as his God Almighty, had brandy as his Savior, had anger as his guiding light.
How's the farm doing?
Poorly, just like every year.
What the fuck am I watching?
Exactly. God.
Oh my God.
And I can't believe it hasn't
why?
been. I cannot believe it hasn't been picked up.
Oh, I can't believe
by
it hasn't been picked
any
up.
major studio, and just because it's amazing.
I'm treated like a rural
like a school-
mannequin.
I don't understand what a rural mannequin is. Yeah, I was confused by that the first time I heard it. I was looking at it before we started, and I thought, I'm not sure whether I'll share this because it's so bad. It's almost as bad as The Crimes of Ed Gein. That's how bad that musical is. Sorry, people, but that's what I think. Anyway, so that is the story of Ed Gein. So I know that had some really grotesque stuff. I'm very proud of both of you for choosing to see the images. I did actually crop
I think
out.
that was harder to watch.
I
Might
cropped.
need to-
I think
last
Ed
bit
Gein the
was-
musical was much more disturbing. You're right.
Absolutely.
I did crop out the picture of Bernice's body though, so I didn't
Thanks.
share that
Thank
with
you.
you because
Thank you.
that was
Yeah.
just a step too far.
Yeah, agree.
I think at the end of that bit of musical, when he starts talking to someone, he's talking to one of the women that had been exhumed, but nowhere did anyone mention the names of the people who had been.
Thank you for pushing stop when you did.
Were there any comments underneath it? Who had gone to look at this Ed Gein the musical? You know how you like sometimes
Yeah,
think,
what
who's
the
been
fuck,
stopping by
mate?
here?
Well, actually, it's interesting because on IMDb, someone actually gives it a really good review and says something about like it's
The director.
No, it wasn't the director, but it was someone who said, "Oh, it's just."
Director's mum.
It was like about filmmaking. It wasn't about the story. It was about filmmaking.
Right.
So it wasn't. It
It was a
didn't
good
really.
school project.
No, it wasn't
Yeah,
a school
that's
project.
I know that's
The
the
guy
second
who
part.
played
I
Ed Gein, the guy playing Ed
Yeah.
Gein is one of the guys who created it. They're not
shit.
kids.
No, I
Ed
don't
Gein,
mean
by
that.
the
I'm
way,
not
was
sa-
about half the size, and he did look like a real creepy little guy. In
No,
fact,
I wasn't
I'll pull up a
suggesting that. I
photo
was just
of
saying
him
it
for
had
you.
this sort of feel of like some, college sort of presentation or something.
I
Like that.
agree.
Like, that's all I
yeah,
meant.
yeah. I mean, it was. Let's
Seemed
say
very heavily overacted and heavily sort of.
it was certainly a what I would call low budget performance or thing. Yeah. See, this is one of my favourite photos of him because I think in this
One of your favourite photos of whom? Sorry,
of Ed Gein. Himself.
I didn't know that there was. You had preference.
Yeah.
for-
Well, because
Oh, here he is in denim overalls. Looks fabulous.
I'd like to get this made into a poster for my wall.
because
It's
I
not
think,
him in his like boob apron, is it?
Yeah.
No. It's just him.
No, that's not one of my favourites.
Yeah.
Don't be ridiculous.
Can you
Schmidty.
see over
No
here?
one-
This one on the side. Don't you
Yeah.
think he looks a bit like Anthony Hopkins in that photo?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that's the only reason. But this is what he normally looks like. Oh, sorry, there's his suit next to him there. Can you see that? That's the suit, but that's what he normally looks like. So,
That's the booby apron. That's what that is.
and I
It's
don't
a vest, is it? It's just you wear it as a vest.
Yeah, it's a booby apron. I was thinking
Well, it's
it
not
was
as long
like
as
a
I'd
French word.
anticipated.
The booby apron.
Yeah. I didn't.
yeah.
Oh, maybe it would be like they're in tabard. Kids wear them to school, and they're called a tab something.
It's tabard, isn't it?
Tabard. Yes, that's it. It's a booby tabard. Tabard. I think.
Anyway, I've got to stop sharing because the internet's full of terrible things. Over to you guys. Thoughts?
Oh, fucked up.
Oh, hello. You know what it is? It's a jerkin. It's a sleeveless jerkin.
Oh,
Doesn't have to-
jerkin, yeah.
Jerkin.
That's the word.
There must be
yes.
another word for a jerkin.
You knew
right?
it, yes.
You
A
couldn't
coarse
come at that
sleeveless
either,
gown
could
worn
you?
on
Can't
out
come at a
dress.
jerkin, no. Or a merkin.
Oh my god! So
Or a
are we going to call it a
jerkin.
booby It's a booby jerkin, as opposed to a booby tabard.
Jesus. How's jerkin spelled?
Jerkin.
Jerkin.
Just
Yeah,
like you
I've
think
heard
it would
that
be. Is there a little apostrophe after the N? I've been
No.
jerking on the
Jerkin.
railroads.
Schmidty, can I
According
just
to
check?
the synonyms, a gilet is another word for a jerkin, or a tunic,
Yeah.
or a doublet. Jerkin's a very old word.
I know, but I was thinking of a tunic.
I don't know. It gets
And I
used a
just
fair
want-
bit nowadays.
I think
Yeah,
I-
tunic's another word for it. Yeah.
I thought apron, but I was wrong because it was actually not long enough for an apron. I do think we
No,
need
it's a
to stick
tunic,
with
you're
tabard
right.
or tunic or jerkin.
I'm not keen
It's
on
a booby
jerkin.
tunic. Booby tunic.
No, booby jerkin. I think a booby jerkin.
Yeah, it is. It's
like a
more
titty
like
fucking,
tunic.
but it's a booby jerkin.
All right. Okay, it's a booby jerkin. Apologies. Step too far. Anyway. All right, so apart from the booby jerkin, any other thoughts? Are you ready to sentence anyone?
Well, I would like to sentence him to the murder of Mary that
Yeah.
he clearly didn't get charged with or didn't have a trial for that. So let's just skip the trial and find him guilty. Fuck
Okay.
that. Save them. If you haven't got any money, just skip the trial and judge.
Straight in. Yep.
Yeah.
Lock him up.
Well, I think that poor bloke who died young, the 43-year-old policeman who died of a heart attack, who just was so traumatized by it, he would agree with you. He decided to shove his face into a brick wall. So
Yeah, I'm
I think
okay
he was
with that too.
Pretty
Yeah.
upset. Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like the mum was clearly.
I think the mum is part of the problem. Yeah.
I think the
yeah.
mum's a big part of the problem. The dad's drinking, there's no doubt, was probably part of it as well. But I don't make the leap to what he did. I just don't know where you go from being in an unhealthy, having an unhealthy mother and son relationship, I'm sure there's plenty. But that's a mighty old leap from where, Mummy was controlling to I'm going to do these elaborate crafting things with people's exhumed
gonna make
body
a booby
parts.
jerkin.
Yes. A booby jerkin.
I wonder whether or not he did exhume his mother first and tried on her, and then maybe it didn't work. And
Had to get the sizing right.
Why was that not
or
in the
didn't get-
information, Schmidty? Did they not say that?
There's
was
no
it-
evidence, and no one's
Okay.
exhumed. No one's actually exhumed her grave or opened her grave to see whether she's still there. So
You'd think they would.
there was
That's odd,
there
isn't
was
it?
some plot hatched by some blokes. I didn't cover it, but there were some blokes who thought it'd be a great idea, and then
Yeah.
they abandoned the idea. I'm not quite sure whether they were documentary makers or what they were, but they were like, yeah, this is a brilliant idea. Let's get together and exhume poor
And
old
they came to their
Augusta.
senses.
And then they thought, let's get off the drugs and
Yeah,
go and get a real
exactly.
job. I made that bit up, but so
Sounds
yeah, so
accurate.
they haven't checked, and you need a court order. Like you need a reason to exhume a body, not to just say we're just kind of interested in whether or not she's still
We
there.
just wonder if she
I thought
did.
they would have had a pretty good reason.
Well, I don't think he ever said that he defiled his mother's grave. But to me, it feels like you're right. It's this huge stretch that suddenly just starts doing
Yeah.
this. So maybe he did think, I can't part. That's the Norman Bates thing, I can't part with her. I'll take her body. I'll take it back home. And probably she decomposed, or he didn't quite manage her, or she's one of. For all we know, she's one of those masks. They're just or shrunken heads. It's just hard to tell. And then after that, not quite fulfilling whatever it is that he was after, he just continued to craft, because he's a crafty guy. I wonder if he could knit. I reckon he'd be a mean sewer. Although I'm not really happy with his
What would you
stitching
sew
there
with?
on the. Well, he was sewing with cotton, I think.
No, but
intestine,
sorry, what do you knit with is what I meant to say.
hair, human hair.
Yeah. Make some wool out of it.
You could make whatever you like out of it. You can knit it with hair if it's long enough. I'm not saying go ahead
Have you
and do
done
it.
it?
No.
Why did you say you can do that?
I just know that you can.
What? How do you know that? That's not a thing that anyone just knows.
Yeah, I
Well,
know,
what
like
do
she's
you
done a
think
test
wool
with her
is
own.
and
Like
all
mine's
these
too
things?
short, but Carla's is just the right length.
Carla's is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll chop that off and we'll make a
That's
nice.
why I'm growing it. Nice
Again,
and long.
how do you know?
But we won't let Raj touch it because he's naughty.
I feel
He's
like
not
it
allowed to have
would
a
be
jumper.
too slippery and it would just fall through.
You just treat it
See,
like you treat any other natural fibre. It's just a natural fibre. People use
Shut up.
bamboo for everything. You shut up. All right, so you want to sentence him. What are you going to sentence him to? Just jail or?
Oh, head shrinking, maybe. Just give him a
Well,
tiny
it's
little
odd.
head, a shrinky-dinky head on his normal body.
Like Beetlejuice? Was it the film Beetlejuice? I seem to
know.
remember someone getting a head shrunk.
Yeah.
in Beetlejuice,
Does anybody
yeah.
else have a problem with this story in the sense that it seems
yes.
so outrageous? It doesn't feel like it's real. Do you know what I mean? So I think I feel like
Yeah.
I'm gelling it with like a lightness of touch because it's like, this is ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah, it's almost like when I showed you those images, you
Yeah.
can't believe that
No.
they're actual people. It looks
No.
like something out of a movie set.
Yeah, I
Yes,
agree.
it does.
Yeah.
It just feels like, Sideshow Alley, freak show kind of that era. That just
It looks fake.
what's
And
the most outrageous thing you can possibly say or do?
when I saw them, because I only looked at them this afternoon, and I've often thought to myself around films like not so much Psycho, but Silence of the Lambs, or although Silence of the Lambs is much more about suspense than it is horror. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all those American Psycho, all those things where they have awful blood and gore and people being ripped apart, and the special effects for it, and you think, where did these people get this idea? Like, what sick minds come up with this shit? And as it turns out,
And here
it's
they are.
inspired by a really, truly sick
Yeah,
mind.
truth is stranger than fiction.
And I think that's why we looked at those photos and we sort of went, shrunken heads, ha ha ha. Well, also because you had to have a bit of levity.
Because
But
it was
you-
fucking funny.
But you can't see, like, we looked at a belt made of nipples.
yeah, you can't.
But you don't see that. Like, to me, it doesn't look real.
No,
I'm with you.
agreed,
Like,
yeah.
my brain says, I just can't compute that is what I'm looking at. I mean, I know that's what I'm looking at, but I can't
No.
come
My
at
brain looks at it and says, that's
And there it
ridiculous.
is
Why would
again.
why would you put that particular belt star, that buckle star?
that. Why would you do that? I mean, that.
Yeah.
I mean, surely you go
Stupid.
for silver. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm with you, Carla. And something a little bit neater. And they weren't
No.
neat. You're like, come on,
No.
just do a better job.
It's just
Yeah, that was shit, Craftsman.
it's just beyond understanding.
My problem with the gloves, if I've got to be honest, is that if you stitch a glove, you don't stitch the stitch from the outside. You turn it
Yeah.
inside, you stitch it, and then you push them inside, and then you put your hands in it.
Wouldn't
Maybe
pass
they
your
were just
quality
like
control.
happy clapping gloves.
Maybe they were just, like a trial. Maybe they were just a prototype. And you went,
Yeah.
no, that.
That's
I don't
why I
think I'm
didn't
going
make
to do.
another
I don't think I'll
pair.
do more of the gloves, and I don't know what I'm going to do with the vulva. I think, I've got them. I've put them aside.
I'll put them in a
9
box for
vulvas. I'll
later.
just pop it in a box. Yeah, yeah.
While I think about
9.
something.
9 vulvas.
I mean, the fact that he's coming up with lampshades and
6
vases and
white
stuff. I don't-
boomers, snow white boomers.
9 dried vulvas.
9 dried vulvas. Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Anyway.
what the fuck.
Yes, it is. You're right, Colour. It smacks of the ridiculous, and yet tragically and bizarrely, it is a true story.
I know. I feel like I've, ridiculed the ridiculous, but it's sort of... I'm finding it difficult to come to a conclusion on a
I'd like to
trial by one sentence because I don't.
I like the shrunken heads. I think
My
like
head's
he's
still
going
spinning.
somewhere with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a thing. I'd like to thank Carmen for burning his house down too. I think that was a good job.
Carmen? Who was Carmen?
Yeah, Miranda.
Carmen Miranda, sorry.
Oh, goodness.
Oh.
You
I'll
of
edit that
all
out.
people making that mistake.
Oh, just tired. Yes, thank you,
Just
Carmen.
tired.
It's taxing.
I just went through the horror of the Ed Gein story.
Yeah.
But yeah, unlike, not as badly as the people who actually went through it. I can't imagine being one of the policemen or any of the forensic or whatever staff, investigative staff, having to deal with that. I mean, that is just grotesque. Almost as bad as the musical. So, any ideas, or do you need a wee break? Do you need a little bit of thinking time?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that's hard to get. I mean, there's so many crimes. I must say I was surprised that he was digging the bodies up, not killing them. So I think, there's a little bit of... In some ways, that's a lesser thing in my head.
Well, and even the last lady, he may not have meant to murder her, but they did suspect... There are four other people who are unsolved murders for the same period that they think maybe he was involved in, but there's no evidence, and he never confessed, and he quite happily confessed to the 2 ladies that he murdered. So I don't believe... I had them in the story originally, and then I thought, I actually don't believe that he had anything to do with that.
With those items that he made out of the body parts, did they
Call
actually...
it decor?
Well, no, I was going to say, did they get the fashion police to have a look at it? Because I feel like there's some crimes against fashion there that he probably hasn't been... obviously due to costs, he wasn't tried for.
No.
But
it was not like he'd been to, the Fashion Institute to, have formal training. The guy was just working,
But that's the whole thing. That's why he shouldn't be doing it.
Genius.
That's
He
the
was
crime
just...
of...
Very intuitive. I just kind of imagine... I mean, there's one thing coming up with it and actually being able to create these things. In
Make
that
a
day,
booby
in those days...
jerker.
I know. But I guess where I struggle a bit... Tell me this.
Booby jerkin,
I
not booby
don't-
jerker. Yeah, right.
I don't know enough about what would be a punishment for him. I mean, how I always go to what was the person, what would be their worst fear. I don't know what his worst fear would be. Do you know what I mean? It just feels like he had a bit of a he had a really domineering mother who was, clearly a whack job herself and, not a good role model. But then we jump ahead and he's doing this crazy shit, and I'm like, okay, but why, darling? What? Why? I don't know how to punish him.
He was diagnosed as a schizophrenic. So he wasn't
correct.
well. He wasn't
No,
well
he
to
wasn't
start
well.
with.
No, he
he had all this
certainly.
additional influence of his mother. Like his brother Henry, apart from getting knocked over the head and killed, there's no indication that Henry was anything other than a perfectly normal, straight up kind of guy. I think and he was obviously also brought up by the same woman and had the same influences.
Yes.
But not schizophrenic.
No.
Yes.
And also, because you'd said that Ed was a good student, right? He was good at English.
He was okay. He read well, though. He was
Good at reading.
Okay, yeah. But he was
Like, what was the...
babysitting, doing, handiwork.
What were the magazines he was reading? death cult magazines
Oh
or
yes,
something.
that's a problem for me.
Nazi
That is a problem.
cannibals. I didn't know that Nazis were cannibals. I should research that. Well, I do know about one German.
No, hang on.
But,
Are
not
they
necessarily a Nazi.
are they Nazi cannibals, as in Nazis who eat people, or are they cannibals who eat Nazis,
I think at the time,
or
because-
Nazis who eat other Nazis?
Well, I think at the time when he was reading those, it was just after World War II. So I'm going to say the Nazis were eating people in those books because it would have been anti-Nazi propaganda, which, because they were the villains of the time.
I don't know if
So-
you just call it anti-Nazi propaganda, but anyway.
Well, no, I'm just saying that it's like how Top Gun had the nasty Russians, and we were all the Russians
In
were
the MiG.
always, the Russians
Yep.
were always the
bad
well,
guy.
not always, but for a long time they were the bad guys, and then
Certainly in movies and stuff, you're absolutely right.
Hard to believe nowadays.
Arabs, and then it became
Yes.
Arabs, and now
Yep.
it's probably going to go back to Russians.
Correct,
So-
that's right. It
So
was
there's always a bad guy, and all I'm saying is
Germans,
Nazis would have been the
Japanese,
bad guys at that
Russians.
point in time. That's right.
Yep. Arabs, and then we go back to.
And so that's why they ate them, or they were so bad that they
They
ate
were so
people.
bad they ate people, I think.
Right,
I don't
gotcha.
know. I never read these magazines, but that's what I've surmised from
Yeah,
it.
I wouldn't be doing a search for that either, darling.
So I have got a punishment that might work.
Yeah.
So obviously there's a cinema in Trial by Wine World, and I think that he could be
Obviously.
sentenced to obviously an
And
eternity.
it's playing Les Miserables all the time. Jeez, that was shit.
Yeah,
Anyway, go
no,
on.
it's going to play the music inspired by his crimes
Maybe
on
Ed
loop, and
Oh.
he can just watch that over and over. Maybe, they don't have popcorn, they just have bags of dicks, and so he can get a bag of dicks that he has to eat as well, or
Well, I think that's fair because he didn't see...
dried vulvas.
Yeah, he was very very much about female parts.
Is
not
that
male
that ad
parts.
that says, hey, turn off your mobile phone? The movie's about to start. There's some popcorn talking, and it's a bag of dicks and a little
Yeah,
vulva going, hey, don't forget to turn off your phone. Go to the candy bar now.
Don't forget to go to the vulva bar.
Go now. Oh, my God. Little animated bag of dicks having a little chat.
Or a couple of shrunken heads.
Yeah, little salted,
he could-
hot buttered and salted bag of dicks. Oh, God.
Well, I don't think he was into dicks, so I can see
That would make it
be
better
a punishment.
then.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I agree that's quite an okay punishment.
Yeah.
All right, Swanee?
Well, I'm going to go on the same line, but I'm just going to have him watch the Ed Gein story, the musical. It will be the second showing, and it runs in conjunction.
Without his mother in it, I reckon, though. Because
Yes,
he's
so
so
that
hot
he-
for his mum that we just we cut her out.
Yeah.
He's just
Can
gotta
he
watch
can he roll his vulvas down the aisle?
They weren't his vulvas, they were someone else's. Don't be disrespectful.
His collection of is what I mean.
Yeah, but they didn't belong to him. He stole them.
Man, they've got like the fantails, but they've got like skin wrappers, and then he can just, do that thing, when you try and make them as long as possible, when you try and get one
yeah.
continuous piece of paper. On
Yes.
you know what I'm talking about, Schmidty?
Yes.
You know we do it with
I
minties or
do.
fantails, Schmidty?
And
I
you
do.
tear it around
And you
the
rip
edges.
it?
Very disturbed that you're going down a line where you think you should give him skin to play with.
Maybe he could have dried foreskins because he wouldn't want to play with those.
All right. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Well,
What am I supposed to do with these?
what is this shit?
Gross.
Yeah.
I couldn't come at
I
that.
am a weirdo. Exactly. I couldn't come at that. I've tried, but I just can't.
Yeah. Can't even get aroused. Where's that pig?
Oh yeah. So for me, I was opting more for something that he inspired. So I was basically thinking about the Silence of the Lambs prison where Hannibal Lecter and others were kept,
Yes.
where it's how it's fully reinforced but see-through walls.
Yes, with Migs down the aisle a little bit.
Meg Welders.
He's the one who says, "I can smell you."
Oh no,
As she
no!
walks
Don't want
past.
him next door. No. This is
He could
more,
come at that.
Yeah, well, the guy next door definitely comes at that. We don't want to do that. We'll just have him on his own in isolation. Well, it does. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It does. He comes on her. Do you not remember
Yeah.
that bit?
What's this we're talking about?
Silence of
Silence
the
of the
Lambs.
Lambs.
Oh, I can't remember. Sorry.
Oh, it's revolting. He's down. She goes down to see the psychos. She goes to
Clarice.
see Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
Clarice.
Yeah.
Because she's trying to get insights from him to help her
Yes. Yes.
find James Gump, who's the one who's got the poor girl as a victim and has been murdering girls.
Right.
So it's the FBI agent trying to find out from one
Yes,
psycho
yes.
how to trap another psycho.
That's correct. I remember that now. Yes.
And then there's scene. Someone who says that I can smell your beep, Clarice.
That's Miggs.
It's Miggs.
Miggs
Yeah, so
says that.
some bloke down the road, and then as she's walking out, someone jacks off and gets her.
Oh.
Yeah.
Throws it in her face.
I think it's Miggs still because he's
So
jacking off to the
disgusting.
smell. Because the smell isn't so bad that he can't come at it.
Well, no, he's clearly heterosexual.
Because she was wearing Le de Ton.
Oh, she was wearing Agent
And a-
Provocateur, and he liked
And
it very
a
much.
booby jerkin.
Yeah.
And a booby
Oh my
jerkin.
God! Can you remember all of this?
Oh, God, yeah.
There's
I
no
don't know.
booby jerkin in Silence of the Lambs. Oh, there is actually. Okay, he wears a
He's
body
making
suit.
one.
Suit. Yeah.
And you know, the other day you talked about the man with the meat suit. I was thinking a lot when you were talking about the meat suit. About
Do you mean
Silence
Lady
of the Lambs.
Gaga?
No, the fat guy
Does the
in
meat dress.
her
The vegan.
show,
Oh, yeah.
The vegan one.
the vegan on the run.
Sharma.
He was talking about having a big meat
Yes.
suit. I kept thinking about Silence of the Lambs and that sort of stuff. Anyway, I digress. So we've got this big clear space, so he can see everything around him, but he cannot get to any of it. On the inside, he has nothing. He has no crafting tools. He has no magazines. He has no Nazi cannibal stories. He's got no stimulation, nothing.
What? That's
But-
cruel and unusual.
Walking past him, probably every 25 minutes, is a woman who looks just like his mother. And she walks past. He doesn't speak to him. And she just walks on by. And she just rejects him constantly. And I think he can't do anything. He can't get out. And I think that would be a bit of a torture for someone who's just wanting to get to be with the love of his life, being his mother.
This
Yes.
is playing out like a sort of an abstract, sort of European, foreign film. It'll be very abstract. So this woman is
SBS
walking
World
past.
Movies.
Yes, SBS World Movies.
Yeah. All right.
It's
that's
very
fine.
like, what's it called? Foreign film.
When we worked at Foxtel in the call
World
centre,
Movies. Yeah.
I remember a call
goodness.
from an old lady, and I was, and this is not a rude expression, double jacking with
Oh,
another
what?
colleague. It was where you were like Tony
Listening
and
in
I
the
are.
call, you're
And
double
you
jacking.
guys are
Booby
double
jacking.
jacking right now.
Double
It's where you got
jacking.
two
Yep,
headsets
I remember.
plugged into one, so you
So you did it
could
for
hear the
training
one
and stuff, didn't you?
conversation. Yeah.
Double jack, yeah.
So I was double jacking with
I forgot
this other
about that.
bloke, Mark,
Yeah, me too.
and his woman rings up, and he was talking, and I was listening in because I was training, and this old lady rings up, and he says, she says, now what have you got? And he goes, we've got world movies. And she says, are they racy? Are they saucy? And he says, they're European, so, they are, some of them are rated quite high.
Soft
and she
porn.
goes, do you see it going in?
No.
And you should have seen this poor guy, because there's me, this young trainee next to him, and he was so embarrassed. He went like 15 shades of red. And I think not long after that, we got another call from a man with a much more European accent. And he says, have you got the movies blue? We've got the movies blue. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, he wants to know if we have any pornography. And he goes, oh, well, we've got world movies.
Yeah, World
I don't
Movies
know.
was like that.
Do you remember who looked after adults only?
That was later. That didn't
That was
exist.
later, yeah.
Oh,
That
yeah,
was
that
you.
later. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, there you
But
go.
we didn't have that
And
colour
Maid
when we
Event.
launched.
Yeah,
the
no, that's
only thing
obviously
we
later.
could sell was movies blue. I mean, world movies.
World Movies.
They should actually rebrand it movies blue. It'll do better.
Movies blue.
Anyway, so that's my sentence. And so you guys have just, I think shrinking heads is a good one. I reckon he needs a little shrunk head.
Yeah, maybe
little-
when he's at the
little
movies and there's a
chicken
movie
head.
about his mum on, he can have a shrunken head and the person in front can have a massive head so he can't actually see.
You know, when you were talking about the shrunken head thing, I kept thinking about Bratz, because that's gone the other way,
they've
where
got
they've
big
got
heads,
massive
yes.
heads and little bodies. I was
Yes.
like, oh, how times have changed. Anyway. All right. Well, that's my story. So I hope you
Very
enjoyed
interesting.
it
Yes, very good.
as much as you can enjoy.
Yes, as much as
something
you can.
as disgusting as
A
that.
little bit macabre.
But thank you for joining me for the wild ride of a bit of Plainfield, Wisconsin. And I think it's time to say, as I say very regularly, I miss you already.
Oh, miss you
Bye, everyone. Ciao.
Bye.
See you next week. Bye.
Oh, bye. Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website www.trialbywine.com to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.